Welcome to Foam to Fortune, the ultimate podcast for spray foam insulation industry. Whether you're a contractor aiming to take your business to the next level or a vendor bringing innovation to the market, this is the place where success stories are shared, insider tips are uncovered, and the industry secrets are revealed. Join us as we dive into the journeys of the spray foam pros who turn their dreams into thriving empires and discover tools and strategies to build your own path to fortune. Ready to elevate your spray foam game? Let's get started. Foam to Fortune, where innovation meets inspiration.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Foam to Fortune podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and today we have Riley Linnehan with IPS. He's a sales guy over there. He is also an expecting father. He has got a baby girl on the way August 31st, and it's going to change his life. What's up, Riley?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, of course, man. Why don't you share with us, our listeners, who is Riley Linnehan? Like, what are you about, man?
Yeah, I think I'm better known as Ry, the spray foam guy. I don't think there's many people that know who Riley Linnehan is, and it's probably for the best. That's
very true, because there's the profile on all the socials. Ry, the spray foam guy, he's branded himself extremely from a marketing guy. I think it's genius because people know Ry, the spray foam guy, because it's very, very catchy. But yeah, tell us about Ry, the spray foam guy.
Yeah. I want to give credit to Cody on that. He is our marketing guy, and he's the brains behind it all. I'm just the idiot they put on camera, and trust not to say anything stupid, or if I do, they're going to cut it out for sure. But yeah, I am Riley Linnehan, like Spencer said. I work for IPS. We're a family-owned and operated business. Kind of came into the industry about 2 years ago. My father-in-law and brother-in-law have a lot of experience in that industry, and they'll dive in. We'll dive into that deeper, I'm sure, later on. But yeah, my wife and I, whenever I got married to her, I kind of knew that I was going to eventually find my way into some sort of family business there. So we took a little bit of time for ourselves whenever we got married. We actually moved to France. She was playing professional volleyball in France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive, man.
It was tough. Neither of us are able to speak any bit of French. So, the first thing we had to learn.
I was going to ask, how's your français?
Well, I know what that means. That was about the extent of it.
Oh man.
My first thing I had to learn when I got there was, do you speak English? Which is like parlez-vous anglais, which I probably butchered that even, but
parlez-vous.
got some rough looks, man. People weren't too optimistic whenever they saw the big old country boy English guy walking up to them asking if they speak English immediately. But yeah, so just a lot of cool opportunities that we got to experience in a different country. Got to go see a bunch of different countries actually while we were over there. Now we're back home here in Sellersburg, Indiana, about 10 minutes north of Louisville. And yeah, we're getting things up and running here. Like you said, we're expecting our first kid. We got a little daughter on the way. I could not be I am equally as excited as I am nervous, but excited for what's ahead.
You should be, because becoming a father is going to change you in so many different ways. And I know you're going to hear this and you're not going to realize it until you hold that baby and you're like, holy crap, I created this human. This is nuts. I got blessed with double the trouble with twins. So a little bit different of a experience for myself, but sounds like some extremely exciting things coming down here. I'm sure you guys are nesting, getting ready for the new baby.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you share with us about IPS and who you guys are?
Yeah. So like I kind of mentioned there, we are a family owned and operated company, which, I'll dive into it deeper here in a second, but I feel like that really embodies who we are to our customers too. So little bit of background story. My father-in-law, his name's Sean Stumler, and my brother-in-law is Christian Roberts. So they come from a long line. Pretty much their entire family tree did some version of spray foam throughout history. So Sean's dad, Melvin Stumler, owned a company called Insulated Roofing Companies. Excuse me. And Sean grew up, spraying commercial roofs with foam since he was about I want to say like 13 years old, which I don't know about the legal laws of that. I don't know if they were allowed to be up there, but that certainly didn't stop him. He found any loophole he could to get out there and spray some foam. He spent time as the president of SPFA. Then he started a silicone roofing company by the name of Progressive Materials. So he made silicone roof coatings and grew that into this fantastic empire. And when he sold that almost 5 years ago now, I believe, he has a non-compete intact. So, he came to Christian and I, he's like, hey, you boys, I'd love to get back into a family business. I'd love to find some way that the three of us can work together. And then as Christian and I start to have kids, and Christian's already got 2 young boys of his own, we can ideally raise them up through kind of the same path that he went through and that Christian went through, and that hopefully my kids will go through down the line too.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. So tell us about what you guys actually do.
Yeah. So we are a spray foam manufacturer. We're based out of New Albany, Indiana. We've been up and running for about 2 years now, just over 2 years. And, again, Sean's only knowledge was, well, not only knowledge, but what he knows the best is that he knows how to make coatings and he knows how to manufacture stuff and he knows how to do spray foam because that's what he comes from. So he's like, let's try this out. Let's see where this goes. So we started a spray foam manufacturing company. It was just 3 of us in a tiny little office at first, just trying to get things up and running. And now we built it into this, pretty big plant and facility here, and grown it into something big to where we now have salesmen all across the country. We got a full staff and office, and we like to try to get out to those like small and medium sized guys that aren't necessarily seeing, the same treatment as, the companies that do truckloads on a regular basis are seeing. We try to give them the same treatment and treat them, just as equals in the playing field. Trying to bring a new light to the spray foam industry in a way.
Yeah. So I know most manufacturers, from my experience, you have to buy it, like a half truckload or a full truck or things like that. So you guys actually distribute sets, essentially. Like I could buy a set, 2 sets, 3 sets, whatever the case is, and you guys are going to actually be able to fulfill that order.
Yeah. It's kind of unique. Again, we saw kind of an opportunity, or you want to call it like a market that really wasn't being touched on. Like you're saying, the smaller guys that just need 1 or 2, 3 sets to finish a job. So we saw, what we did was, I don't have my CDL. I can't drive a tractor trailer. So Sean said, well, let's get, F-250s. Let's get these air tow trailers. So now we can basically navigate in and out of, whether it be their shops, or if we need to go to a job site, we can drop the material off right there at their doorstep, ideally saving them time and saving them the stress of like waiting for, an LTL truckload to show up and sitting at your warehouse all day. We're trying to make it as simple as possible for them to do their jobs, giving them all the tools and resources they need to do those jobs. And again, treating them differently, because that's not something that market is accustomed to necessarily.
Is that also a cost savings that gets passed on to them as well, because you're not having to pay for a tractor trailer?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, there is still, I will say, cost savings is, I don't want to say negligible, because every penny counts, but there's a lot more time involved in it with this. There's a lot more fuel involved with it in this. There's a lot more risk involved in it with this, because, it's our guys that are out on the road at, 4 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day that are doing these deliveries. Now, we try to save money and we try to be as price competitive as possible, but our focus point is on the service as opposed to the cost. And, we want to give great products with great service every single time. That's our objective.
I love that, because I think there's a lot of noise in the market when it comes to the manufacturers that I've seen. I know I was talking with Robert Niney, guest that we had on the podcast here, episode number 4, I believe it was. And he, for those that don't know, Robert Niney owns a company called sprayfoamadvisor.com, sits on the board of directors, SPFA, extremely knowledgeable guy. And he said something like there was over like 36 or 38 foam companies represented in Daytona. And so from an outsider, when I say an outsider, somebody that's not purchasing foam, tell me like why IPS versus all these other manufacturers?
This episode is sponsored by Spray Foam Genius Marketing. Are you a spray foam contractor looking to get more leads and boost your presence on Google? We've got you covered. At Spray Foam Genius Marketing, we help business owners like you take their company to the next level with targeted leads, high converting websites, SEO optimization, Google My Business Management. If you're in the US, call us at 877-840-FOAM. Or if you're in Canada, call 844741-FOAM. Or you can just email us at info@sprayfoamgeniusmarketing.com. Spray Foam Genius Marketing, turning clicks into customers.
Yeah. I'll touch back on what Cody said. He gave me this slogan that I have, or mantra, or whatever you want to call it, that I've kind of like established in not only, my day-to-day like actions, but also in like, I try to drop it on customers sometimes because I really like it and it's really catchy. He says, we want to bring humanity back to the transaction. And again, I don't want to, discredit any other company. There's, like you said, there's 36, 38 other companies out there. They're all doing something very well. They're all an expert at something. But what we think we can be an expert at is, not only the foam, we want to make excellent foam every single drop, but we want to bring that humanity back to the transaction in the sense of we want to provide customer service past just the drop, right? So for example, I drop foam off. A lot of times this is what happens. Somebody will drop foam off and then they don't ever hear from them again until they're ready for their next foam order. Mm-hmm. Well, I've got these customers that, I go fishing with, I will talk to on the weekends. Like we hang out, like these aren't customers in the traditional sense. They're like friends to me, kind of going back to us being a family owned and operated business. We see these guys as family to us. So we try to bring that humanity back to it. Obviously, everyone wants to make money, right? They want to make money. We want to make money. So there is a transaction involved, but we want it to be more than that. We want to provide them that excellent service that they're not accustomed to getting every single time, getting them the product when they need it, being friends with them, knowing their kids, knowing their wives, whatever it may be. We want to be the guys that are always there for them whenever they need us.
Yeah. So more like that hometown feel that you would get, no matter how big you guys get.
Right.
I'm guessing this is part of your guys's, your motto, your core ethics, your core values, I guess I should say, is to always make it seem like no matter how large you are, that you're a small company, small business.
Yeah. And really, we kind of are in a sense, the way we're set up is, our guys. So we've got Andrew down in Dallas and, Matt in Houston or Junior in Tampa. Like those guys, they have a, 2,500 square foot warehouse essentially loaded up with product, whether it be, cellulose, foam, plastic tapes. Like we've got everything they need to complete a job. But those guys are essentially, as far as from a corporate standpoint, they're kind of on an island. So they go build this book of business and like meet all these different customers and they build their own relationships with them. So in a way, they're kind of running their own distribution plant off of IPS and they are going out and they're building these relationships with the guys to make them different so that it is always going to feel kind of like a smaller, let's call it a smaller scale situation where, it is kind of hometowny, right? These guys are friends. They're not just customers, they're friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. Is this I guess a special sauce that goes into the IPS foam that you're able to discuss? Like I'm kind of like, I'm intrigued because there's so many foam companies. And for me, I'm like, just like there's Ford versus Chevy, like what's better or Dodge or whatever the case is. But like, what is it that separates IPS? Why should a person spray IPS foam? What have you heard, I guess, feedback from your guys' customers?
I mean, I can give you the, ring around the rosy answer here and tell you, everyone's getting better yields. Everyone's saying it's laying smooth as butter. And that is our slogan, right? We want to lay that butter. Yeah. But, and I'm really not when it comes to sales, I consider myself not a good salesman in this regard because I get asked this question all the time and I never have a good answer, I don't think. But in my opinion, foam is foam. A foam is only as good as the contractor or as the sprayer can make it, right? Yeah. All foam's going to spray pretty much the same. There's, micro tweaks here and there that might make it slightly different. But at the end of the day, it's pretty well going to look the same. It's going to get pretty much the same R value with a few fluctuations here and there, but like it's foam, right? There's nothing super special about it. It is what it is. So that's why we try to harp so heavily on who we are as a company not what we do with the product, because the product is good. I will see that. I am biased, but the product is great.
Yeah.
But it's really who we are as people. When we were hiring people to come on as sales guys for us, the number one thing we look for isn't the market. It isn't like how many contractors they have in their area. The number one thing we look for is good people. If you're a good person, 99% of the time you're going to do well, because people like to do business with good people.
True. That's, at the end of the day, I have a little bit of experience with this. I owned an insurance agency for a decade, and there was, we'll just say, suppliers or vendors that we would use if it was the auto glass or the auto body shop. And at the end of the day, they're going to put the new windshield in your car and you're going to be happy, or they're going to fix the crash that you're involved in. But for me, it was about relationships, about having that relationship that when something went wrong, I had a phone number, I had a person I could call and say, hey, what's going on here? And I felt like I was able to have my customers back. And it sounds like it's really similar. If there's a problem, that you guys are going to be around probably even on the weekends and say, hey, dude, like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what's going on with this foam that I got, but it's not acting like it normally does. Can you help? And you're there to diagnose it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right. It is a very similar situation to what you were doing with insurance. It's like, and not everyone's going to do that. I know it sounds like such a simple thing to do, is like, be there for your customers, be there for your people. But unfortunately, that's a lost art today that we are trying to bring back. I mean, like, I don't get it. Maybe, I guess I'll credit my parents to my upbringing on that. But like, I was always taught, if you see somebody struggling, especially somebody you know and you love and you trust, help them. And even if you don't know them, help them. Like, if you can offer some sort of advice or some sort of like physical help, be that person that's willing to help others.
Yeah, we as humans have kind of gotten away from that. And I don't know if it's been just, the political divide, the pandemic. There's been a lot of things, I would say, within the last 8-ish years that I feel like have really even made us not as human and acting out of acts of kindness. I always like to think about it as like filling the kindness bank. Like if there's actually like a bank of kindness, how that would be different with, when you're on the freeway and you let like somebody in, like merging, right? And you're just like, oh, go ahead. I'm like, okay, more money in my kindness bank. And we just continue to keep working on the kindness piece, because to me, man, like it takes more energy to not act in a kind manner than it does when you are acting kind. So that's awesome. I know we were talking about, prior to the show, we were talking about failures, or things that, like your biggest failure. And I know you're laughing because you know where we're going with this, but tell me a little bit about what that looks like to you. Like, as a I guess a white collar guy coming from a CRM sales background.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the cliche Michael Jordan quote, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but if you don't, it's something along the lines of, if you don't try, you'll fail, or, what is it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, I think is what he said.
Right.
Which is 100% true.
Wayne Gretzky, I think.
Oh, see, I don't know. I remember from The Office when he had it says Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. That's how I remember it. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I think if you asked everybody at our company, I certainly am the one that fails the most, because I like to gamble. I like to take risks. I like to try new things, and that's going to inevitably lead to failure. But sometimes you strike gold. Christian, my brother-in-law, always says even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. I think that's so true. Yeah, I think it's pretty applicable. But yeah, so as far as failures go, I did come from a more white collar kind of CRM salesman role. So I'd had slight sales experience, but I didn't have any kind of blue collar experience. I mean, kind of going back to it, I didn't really know what spray foam even, I knew the idea of it, but I didn't really have any grasp on what spray foam even was before starting this. So when I first started, again, going back to our delivery process and our procedures, is we don't go through the tractor trailer companies. We don't go through the LTL companies occasionally, yes, but most of the time we are going to do our own deliveries. And that requires us to basically have to know how to back in a trailer. And, anybody watching this, 99% of their job requires them to know how to back in a trailer, right? They're always going to back right into a garage and, get their hose out and get spraying. I didn't have that experience. I didn't grow up back in trailers then. So, we've had sales guys come in, they'll do training with us at the office, and I am the one training them now. I just want to preface this story with that. I'm the one that trains them how to back in the trailer now. So before I tell you how bad I was, I've gotten better to the point where I can at least teach somewhat now. Nobody's gotten in a wreck yet. Say that, knock on wood.
That's what we use for the scorecard?
That is my grading seal right there. Don't get in a wreck, and I did a decent job. But yeah, so good. Yeah, something to be proud of, right? So all the other guys, they've pretty well picked up backing up a trailer within 2 hours at the most, or they already knew what they were doing, right? They already had the experience doing that. Again, I didn't. So Christian, with me being the first salesman, had the mispleasure of teaching me how to back in a trailer. We had this big old parking lot, plenty of room. There is no way I could hit anything. It took me, I think, about 2.5 weeks to get to a point of even being slightly comfortable backing in the trailer. I mean, and even still, man, there's times where I'm like, I don't know that I got this. And it's just, so yeah, Christian had the mispleasure of having to go through the experience of teaching me how to back in a trailer. And something that comes so naturally to him, that is, obviously you're going in reverse, right? You're backing in, and then you have to get your mind to go in reverse because you're turning the opposite direction of which way you want the trailer to go.
True.
That doesn't make sense to me. My brain doesn't fire like that. It doesn't function on that capacity for whatever reason. But yeah, so like trying to tell me something that makes so much sense to him and makes zero sense to me, and watching me struggle through this chaotic scene, darn near, jackknifing the trailer on multiple occasions, watching like a brand new truck and a brand new trailer almost just get totaled multiple times. He was probably sweating a good bit, nervous watching me do that. But I've gotten to a point now where I've got a better grasp on it, at least to some extent.
God, I mean, I can imagine wrecking the company vehicle and with your brother-in-law, and then how the family dinners would go after that.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm grateful that never happened.
Thanksgiving would be very awkward, very expensive mistake,
Absolutely.
I gotta say, if that's your biggest failure, since you've been working in the spray foam business, that you're off to a good start.
I am certain if you ask me this in a year, I've got about 50 other stories I can just run right off for you. Failure's my middle name, man.
Yeah, but that's that's exactly the way that we that's the way that we learn. And
100%.
I know that there's so many positive things that have came from me screwing things up. And the conversation that I have with my daughters often is, because they don't, I think as a child, when you look at your parents, you look at them as being perfect, in many forms. And you'll soon learn this. But they don't really see, and failures aren't really discussed a lot when you're growing up. And I'm like, man, I messed up probably 10 things already today in my business that I'm having to fix and figure out. So honestly, backing in a trailer, if that's the biggest issue you've had, then I think you're on a good trajectory there. So I know you haven't been in the business often or long, I guess I should say, but
This episode is sponsored by Spray Foam Genius Marketing. Are you a spray foam contractor looking to get more leads and boost your presence on Google? We've got you covered. At Spray Foam Genius Marketing, we help business owners like you take their company to the next level with targeted leads, high converting websites, SEO optimization, Google My Business Management. If you're in the US, call us at 877-840-FOAM. Or if you're in Canada, call 844741-FOAM. Or you can just email us at info@sprayfoamgeniusmarketing.com. Spray Foam Genius Marketing, turning clicks into customers.
I heard you say that you work for your father-in-law, and I'm kind of curious on how is that? Because I know we had Dan Benedict on the show, and I think his wife works with him. There's been some other people that have. Yeah, exactly. We have some other, people that work with their spouses or family and things of that nature. And I know that sometimes that's really difficult to have that differentiation of business and family, or business and relationships, to where it's like, it can be a little bit awkward.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start with this. I grew up in a family business. So my dad, uncle, and grandpa, we were all up in Maine when I was growing up, and they owned a used car dealership. So I got to kind of see, I guess how it can work, right? I've only ever known it as a positive thing, is what a family business was. However, you still hear stories, right? I mean, everyone's first question whenever you're working with your in-laws or with your parents is, oh, how's that? How's the relationship outside of work? Because it does change things. Absolutely. And I'm seeing it now firsthand, because I wasn't working with my dad and uncle and grandpa in Maine. I was too young to be doing that. But I still got to see, the positive ramifications of working with a family business. But then when you get into it firsthand, again, with my in-laws, I'll start by saying everything has been fantastic. It's gone off seamlessly, but I certainly had my concerns coming into it, because, what happens if this doesn't work? What happens if I suck at my job? Which I certainly hope I don't suck at my job, but what happens if I suck? It'd be hard to fire your daughter's husband, so that was certainly a concern of mine. Yeah,
most definitely hard. I know for sure. On the flip side of things, maybe this gives you a little bit of extra motivation to really make sure this works.
Right. And that is kind of where I took things, I think pressure is a good thing. I don't think there's such thing as too much pressure. I think it makes us stronger men. I think it makes us better at who we are supposed to be, and teaches us a lot of life lessons. But that was my interpretation of things, or at least how I wanted to run with things is, okay, I have all this additional pressure. I can't disappoint Sean, because if I disappoint Sean, I could disappoint Allie, who's my wife. There's a lot of disappointment that is kind of hanging in the balances here. But the flip side of that coin is there's a lot of, positivity that's hanging in the balances as well. It's just a matter of how you spin that and which direction you go with it. And I saw that as an opportunity to, prove I will outwork every single person in this office, and I will do my best to outwork every single person in this country if I can. I am going to grind tooth and nail every single day, basically, to show you, like, hey, this means more to me than you could ever imagine. One, for the opportunity to even come work for you because of what he's done. Like, he knew that I couldn't offer anything great to him immediately, really. But he still took a shot on me and gave me an opportunity to come work for him. But yeah, I mean, just, I saw this as more of an opportunity rather than a stressor. Yeah. And just trying to run with that approach on things every single day. Even, now I've kind of gotten a little bit of I've got an established, like, customer base. Like, I've kind of got my legs underneath me a little bit. I still want to keep proving to them, like, I want to beat all the other sales guys, right? I want to show them, like, hey, I should be the benchmark here because you've trusted me first. I was your first sales guy. I want to give them something to live up to. I want to be better than them and give you a reason to believe in me and continue to believe in me. And hopefully that continues to scale as the business does as well.
Yeah. And the thing is like, not only do you have the responsibility on the day to day to perform as a employee, but you also have your father-in-law that's like, look, dude, you got to take care of my daughter and my soon to be granddaughter. And so that's just adds that extra layer of like, dude, I can't mess this up.
Right. I cannot fail. Like I said, I fail a lot, but I can't fail to a point of no return here.
Yeah. But obviously this is a test to your character and what he thinks of you as a human, because he's taking a big risk in so many ways, one being the relationship. Like, I'm sure he thought about this. Like, I'm going to hire Riley, and God, I hope that he is who I think he is, because it's different working, like being I'm not a father-in-law to somebody, but I can imagine the day that I become a father-in-law, I'm going to be looking at that person as like, my son, versus my employee.
Right.
And it's that difficulty of turning that off and on, I think. Did since being employed by your father-in-law, are family gatherings different? Is it less shop talk at the family get-togethers, or is it like a ton of shop talk?
The girls all the wives, they want it to be less shop talk. All of us guys have a tendency to say, well, we can't. Like, it's just, it's in our DNA now, right? Spray foam is who we are now. So you just gotta, you gotta come along for the ride and join in on the conversation. But yeah, I know on a few occasions at family dinners, Allie and Jenny, my mother-in-law, they have both explicitly asked us to say, hey, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's just enjoy family dinner and talk about something else. And I think we make it about 5 minutes or so before we bring it up again.
Yeah. What else is there? You say,
right,
this is what makes us all money in this family.
That's right.
Is talk.
Absolutely.
So, well, why don't we just go to the other room and we can have some guy talk?
Yeah. That's it.
I know only, only being in the business a couple years, that this might be a difficult question, but is there something that you can think of that if you had to do something all over again, that you would do it differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have started this as soon as I could have. Like, as soon as I turned 18, I would have gone to Sean. Well, I guess whenever I married Allie, I would have gone to them and said, hey, let's get this thing up and running. Because the only thing I have regretted so far is that we don't have more time right now. Like, we all want to grow this into something really big. We really see an opportunity to make a change, a positive change in the spray foam industry. I just wish we had more time to do it. I mean, I'm young. I'm 27. Christian's 20, 28, 29 or something like that. We're both young, but still, it's like, some of our best years are behind us already. And time is one of the most fragile things that we have. So I just wish that we had more time to take advantage of this, because this is a really cool opportunity. I really think we can make a really positive impact on the industry, and I want more time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say some of your maybe some of your best years are behind you, but you don't ever know that. I'm 46 and I still feel like I have so much living to do. Obviously, we never know when our time is gonna expire, but I hope. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical issue there. So, but hopefully you're able to, get to a spot where you guys can enjoy your life, vacation, and not necessarily, feel like the golden years are, or I guess the golden years are ahead, right? Of like sitting on a beach with your laptop, with taking care of your clients still, but like enjoying life, and not having to be in an office in Indiana.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, anywhere's better than Indiana. This place is just cornfields and basketball. Basketball is one of my favorite things. So I will say I appreciate that part, but sitting on the beach with my laptop in front of me, taking care of my customers, that don't sound half bad.
Yeah. Speaking of hoops, man, who's your college team? Are you a Hoosier fan?
Okay. So this is going to be a long dialogue here. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan.
Okay.
I think I am the only Miami Hurricanes fan in the entire country as far as football's got a good fan base. Basketball, I
Yeah.
might be the only one. I grew up playing basketball, so that was kind of my sport of choice to watch too. I've become a big football fan over time, but yeah, I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. We went to the Final Four back in, I think it was 2022 or 2023, and not proudly saying this, but my wife does have pictures of me shedding tears of joy because I never thought in my lifetime I would get to see the Miami Hurricanes in a basketball Final Four, man. That was awesome.
I would have probably bet money on that either. That you wouldn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, that was just crazy. And she played volleyball at Kentucky. My wife did, so she's a big Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
And we got to go to the game in Lexington last year, and Miami just got demolished. But still, I mean, I got to watch my team play. I was happy.
I'm guessing both you and your wife are pretty tall.
She's about six foot probably, and I'm going to say I'm 6'1" on camera, just so that I'm taller than her. If anybody asks, I don't know.
There's pictures right behind you that are giving you away. So yeah, exactly. Block out the wedding photos, bro.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Okay, I was expecting, because you grew up a basketball fan, that you might be taller than 6'1", but especially considering that you married a gal that's 6 foot.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was a parent. I wasn't any good.
Well, okay, given that, but obviously your wife was pretty decent at volleyball since she played overseas. So
yeah.
Awesome. Let's kind of change a little bit to maybe a little bit of a controversial subject, which is regulation. We've had our first Canadian guest was on last episode. He talked about regulation that they already have in place up in Canada. Also talked with Robert Niney from Spray Foam Advisor, with his deep knowledge of like over 25 years in this business. And everybody has their take, right? Like everybody has their take on what they feel is necessary. From an outsider perspective, and because I talk with a lot of clients just like you do throughout the week, there's a big concern. One of the concerns is, man, all these guys are coming in and they're underbidding me. They have zero experience. They just bought the rig, and like you could hear them. I'm sure you hear these same stories, right?
Constantly.
So what's your take on regulation? Do you feel like we need regulation here in the States?
It's a loaded question.
It's
I do
super controversial.
It is. And I don't want to say something wrong. I know there is no right or wrong answer, but I don't want to say something that's going to upset somebody and, make somebody else happy, but that's life, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think we need some form of regulation. I mean, I feel like every other trade that I can think of, I mean, whether it be an electrician or a plumber or, whatever it may be, there's some form of schooling, whether that be an apprenticeship or a certification. Like they have to do something to get into the industry. Spray foam's not like that. Like, I could go, and Lord knows I do not need to be doing this, but I could go buy a trailer tomorrow and build a rig out and just start spraying somebody's foam because I can go underbid the next closest person. I should not be able to do that. I am in no way qualified to do that. Exactly. And that kind of, I feel like that applies to not a lot of people within the industry. I don't want to say that. Like there's so many great people in this industry, but there is some, bad apples. And that's the problem right there, is if one bad apple comes in, it can ruin the whole bunch. A lot of the contractors' customers, they may only have one experience with spray foam. It might be with one of those guys that is not in any way regulated or didn't do any of their due diligence to be prepared, comes in spraying off ratio foam, or, might just do something terrible and send somebody in, 30 minutes after they're done spraying when it's off gassing, and, can really hurt people and ruin their homes. And now that one customer that had their house sprayed out with a bad experience is going to go telling all their friends, and they're going to go tell all their friends. And then very quickly the industry can get ruined because of one bad apple. I say all that to say, as far as regulation goes, I think it kind of needs to be a twofold approach to how we handle this. I think it needs to come from both the manufacturers and the distributors, but I also think it needs to come from the contractors. I think both parties need to do their part in this. I think we as, manufacturers need to be more aware. We need to kind of dig a little deeper than just the surface questions and figure out, okay, how long have you been doing this? What kind of, experience do you have in the industry that allows you to spray our foam and go run the risk of putting a bad name behind the industry and ruining a lot of people's, like their ability to live and afford anything really. Because if they don't have their company, they could be up a creek real fast. And same applies to us. You know what I mean? So I just think we need to do our due diligence as a manufacturer, and as all manufacturers, not just IPS, but like all manufacturers need to make sure we're checking all the boxes and making sure these people are qualified and equipped to do their job.
So let's say in obviously a fictitious world here that we do have regulation in place. Where do you think is a good start for the regulation to come from? Like who is the governing body of that?
That's a good question. I guess I would defer to like probably, the board at SPFA. Let me rephrase that. I don't think the United States government should have any say in it. I want to preface with that.
Yeah.
They don't know how to spray foam. They've never sprayed foam a day in their lives. They don't hardly know what foam is. All they care about, I'm going to try to watch my words here so I don't say anything's going to get clipped or nothing. But all they care about is making their pockets a little fatter. And they're going to find some way to do that, whether that be a new blowing agent or a new chemical. I don't know what it looks like. I mean, we kind of just saw a big change from HFCs to HFOs. I don't want to dive into the weeds on it, but I don't think the government should have any say in what the manufacturers produce, assuming it doesn't hurt anything, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's, out there mixing up something real bad, then sure, say something. But if it's not hurting anything, let's just stay out of it. Keep your nose on your face. But then at that point, I think that somebody still needs to have some form of regulation going here. And I think that needs to, kind of trickle down from the top. So have, the board at SPFA, kind of setting the ground rules, right? Laying the foundation. Then the manufacturer comes in, right? Now we're coming in and we're doing our job to make sure we are, checking the boxes, making sure these contractors are credible and going to do the right work to not ruin it for the guys that are doing the right work. And then the contractors on the bottom end of it, they need to be making sure that they're doing their jobs too, right? And again, 98% of them probably are. These guys care about these jobs and they care about the industry and they want to see it grow and they want to see it grow with a good name too. But then you've got those guys that just come in because it's an easy barrier of entry here, and they just take advantage of it and ruin it. So we have to kind of all collectively as a team, like that's the biggest takeaway I think from all of this is it's kind of being pushed here and there and wherever, but the board of SPFA, the manufacturers and the contractors were all on one like big team to help bring the name of spray foam up. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there. That's not how people see things. But if we could get that message pushed across to everybody, I think we could see some seriously positive changes.
This episode is sponsored by Spray Foam Genius Marketing. Are you a spray foam contractor looking to get more leads and boost your presence on Google? We've got you covered. At Spray Foam Genius Marketing, we help business owners like you take their company to the next level with targeted leads, high-converting websites, SEO optimization, Google My Business Management. If you're in the US, call us at 877-840-FOAM. Or if you're in Canada, call 844741-FOAM. Or you can just email us at info@sprayfoamgeniusmarketing.com. Spray Foam Genius Marketing, turning clicks into customers.
I also feel that if there was a certification, a licensing, some form of something that's very much a way to distinguish who I should be using versus who I shouldn't be for the homeowner. Because right now, I could get two bids. I could get a bid from a person that's been doing this 25 years, and it's probably going to resemble him doing 25 years in work, versus a guy that went out last week and bought his rig and maybe has, a week of experience. I sprayed some cardboard at home. Now I'm ready to go spray your house. And obviously the bid's going to reflect the price or the experience difference. And so I feel like there needs to be some stamp, some seal that a homeowner can trust,
Mhm.
to know that, hey, I should use this company because they're better,
Right.
not only because of experience, but they also have this seal of approval, that makes a person want to do business with them. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree, and we kind of are trying to take that approach with things. We have something called the E3 Alliance. It's on our website, and there's a lot more to it than just that. But part of what we try to offer with that is training. We want our contractors, whether it be somebody that's been in the industry for 25 years, or if it's been somebody that's been in the industry for 2 months, we want them to come into our shop, into our warehouse. We've got a nice big spray booth. We want them to get acclimated spraying. We want them to know what they're doing. We want them to see what the difference is between good foam and bad foam, and why it is that way. And we're trying to do our due diligence to prepare these guys and show them the ropes, so we're not just throwing them to the wolves here and giving them that opportunity to ruin something as soon as they touch it, and ruin it for a lot of people. I know, or I don't know, I'm certain that there's probably other manufacturers that have a very similar approach to things. And I know for a fact that they all want this, because again, one bad apple can ruin it for everybody. That includes both contractors and manufacturers. So we all want to see the industry being, we want to see these contractors doing it the right way, but that starts with us. That starts with the manufacturers, because we are the ones that are selling the foam. So if we're selling it to somebody that we didn't check in on and, double check their work beforehand, then we're the problem there. We have to address that up front, and, whether it be checking their, SPFA certificates, just something to show some form of credibility, then, I think that kind of comes from us.
So you think from, just to kind of recap, that you feel that the manufacturers, if something does get put into place, because I know Canada, there's only a limited amount of foam suppliers that can sell to a particular, I guess, region, and they're the ones that are making sure that they pass the checks and balances in order for them to sell foam to. Now, there's always going to be cowboys. This is what Robert 90 said. There's always going to be cowboys, right? And so, do you think that in general this should fall on the manufacturer side? And if it does, do we just assume that every manufacturer is checking the boxes? Because at the end of the day, you guys want to sell foam,
Right?
And maybe just turn a blind eye, and you're like, I mean, yeah, we checked everybody, but now that guy that's brand new in business that hasn't got the certifications getting foam somehow.
Right. I can't say with the utmost confidence that every manufacturer is. We do, we're doing our part as best we possibly can. I mean, everybody at our company is trying to, like you said, do checks and balances, make sure everything is aligned, make sure this is real, right? We don't want to just sell to the cowboys. We want to help the cowboys. We want to get them a little more tamed, if you will, and kind of take that wild west out of them. Yeah. We don't think that they shouldn't necessarily be in the industry. We just think they need to do proper training before they come into the industry and start spraying. So we're trying to do our part on that. The catch is that, even if every manufacturer is doing their job, everybody that makes foam is doing it, even the distributors, there's still going to be those people that, will find a way to get foam, whether it be from the US or not. They're going to find a way to, and they're going to sell it because they don't care. It doesn't hurt them one way or another. They're going to sell it, kind of similar to what the contractors go through. There's guys that will sell, unregulated foam, uncredentialed foam at a very low cost. Yeah. Don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what's in it, but I know that they sell it as spray foam, and, people get their hands on it because it's cheap. At the end of the day, a lot of people just like to go cheap. And there's not a lot that can be done about that. If the government were to have any kind of say in anything, I think we should probably put an end to that stuff. I don't think that should be going on. I don't think it's legal to begin with, but maybe if we keep a sharper eye on it, we can start to mitigate that.
Yeah, let's hope. I'm a proponent of barrier to entry having a little bit more friction, because that allows things to not get watered down. when there's a lot of competition, I've been hearing this from a lot of prospects, a lot of clients that, there's a lot of new spray foam companies popping up around me.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is obviously the supply and demand gets affected. And then it's a lot of times people think that the only way they can win a job is by being the cheapest on price. And I can tell you that I've been on this planet long enough that the cheapest is never the best option. I also think that the most expensive is not always the best option either. I think it's somewhere in between. And selling based off of value and what service that you are able to provide or the quality of the product and is going to differentiate yourself a lot better than, hey, I'm the cheapest. I can spray this for, X amount of money and hope that you win. Because what happens is, these companies that are doing that are able to spray without, insurance, without a lot of other, we'll just say, requirements that should be happening, right? Because God forbid they screw up your house and you go to try to sue them and they go, guess what? I don't have insurance. Like, now you're stuck with a really bad problem and having to pay basically double, if not more, to have somebody come in and rip it out and have them to respray it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big problem. I think I say that it's a big problem. It's not a big problem. Again, the overwhelming majority is good. 95 to 98% of this industry is great. Everybody tries to do things the right way, but there's still that 2% that's lingering. And when they are a problem, it makes the most noise.
Yeah.
So what's the
Squeaky
phrase?
wheel. Squeaky wheel gets
what?
the grease. Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Sure. That's I mean, obviously there could be 100 people out there doing the good thing with one person screwing it up for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you see that a lot on the Facebook groups, spray foam worldwide, things like that, where it's like, I went to this house today to do this removal and oh my God, look at this foam. It's all pulled away from the studs and holy crap. Like I'm not even a foam guy and I can tell that's crappy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets messy quick.
For sure, man. So I want to wrap this up, man, but I see that you guys over at IPS love to mess around with social media and kind of make silly videos and really just kind of like separate yourself from, we'll just say, the other manufacturers out there. Is a lot of that inspiration coming from you? Is that coming from the marketing guys? Like, is that kind of a joint effort in the office?
Yeah. I definitely think most of the creativity and good ideas come from Cody. We're a one-man band when it comes to marketing. Cody Tevis, dude's got tons of experience in this industry, and he comes from a digital media background. So all the creativity and stuff comes from him. The bad ideas that sometimes do get aired, those typically come from me.
Okay.
And typically when those do happen, Sean is not in the office. I talked about how I, try to be perfect when he's around. He's not in the office when you guys see me acting like an idiot. But yeah, I mean, we do try to have fun. That you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And going back to, bring that humanity back to the transaction, it just kind of feels like there's a lot of, I don't know if there are, but like a lot of bodies that have been buried in this industry, a lot of secrets. And that's not what we want to be. We want to be transparent. Like, again, we view our customer base as family to us and friends to us. Like, we want to show them, like, at the end of the day, yes, you guys are in the field spraying the stuff. You guys have the much harder job than us. We just want to be a bunch of good old boys and kind of the wild, wild west of the manufacturing in a way, just not to the same token that you were kind of describing the contractors. We just want to screw around and have fun and make people enjoy the industry again, kind of bring some life and humanity back into how things are operated on the manufacturing side.
Yeah. Some childlike playfulness.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. If people are looking to connect with you, Riley, where can they find you? I know.
Yeah. If they want to watch these videos that we're referencing, they can follow us on TikTok or Instagram, or add me as a friend on Facebook. I love connecting with you. If you do connect with me, shoot me a message, reach out to me. I'd love to introduce myself, get on a phone call or something, and learn your story. Another thing Cody and I have been discussing doing, and we're going to launch the first one this Friday, is we're trying to give customers the platform to share their story. I mean, again, at the end of the day, Cody and I, we're nobodies. Nobody cares about our stories. We're boring. We live pretty mundane lives, but these contractors, man, there's some incredible stories that they have to share. I know this because you interview them and you get to see it firsthand too. But, we just drove down to Dothan, Alabama this past week. We did a 23-hour road trip all in one day.
Wow.
I don't ever want to do that again. We left at 3 a.m. and got back at 3 a.m. the next day. It was a long one. But we interviewed with Courtney Sanders from Old South Insulation, who, by the way, I strongly recommend getting on your show. People would love to hear it from you too.
Yeah.
And you're much better at interviewing people than I was. She, we got her to tell us her story, and, kind of this American dream version of the spray foam side of things. And we want to give, again, the platform and the respect and the humanity back to the people that this industry is really all about. Mm-hmm. It's not about the manufacturers. Nobody cares about us. It's about the contractors. And we want people to start to recognize that and give them the spotlight to share their story. So this Friday we're dropping her story, and we're very excited about that opportunity.
So is that coming? That's going to be on the IPS socials out there on TikTok and Instagram and places like that?
I think we'll probably share it across the board. It kind of stems from a Riley the Spray Foam guy marketing idea, but I think we'll probably post it on all platforms. So if they want to just follow the IPS Instagram and Facebook page, that'd be great too. You guys will find good, entertaining, let's call it entertaining content, regardless of what you follow. But
very entertaining.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll say that.
So make sure you guys are following Riley the Spray Foam guy on, I think you're Riley the Spray Foam guy on all the platforms, right? Instagram, TikTok. Yep. Also, there's a Facebook account, Riley the Spray Foam guy. At first, I didn't know who I was reaching out to, and then we connected personally, which is kind of a funny story. But make sure you guys are following Riley over there at Riley the Spray Foam guy. There was one last thing. Oh, explain to me the areas that you're able to help people. Where does IPS help? If I'm a contractor, in what states can you help me in?
So I'm going to show our size here a little bit. We are still in that growth phase. We're in the smaller size as manufacturers go. Right now we have a good chunk of Texas covered with Dallas and Houston, and both of them, are willing to go far and wide to help people out. So they'll travel darn near anywhere. Tampa, we have a sales rep there. That's Junior. I think he can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure he will, but I want to say he drove like 1,200 miles one day, which I don't know how big the state of Florida is, but like that guy is a workhorse.
It's not wide, it's long.
Right. And he's a workhorse, man. So he's going to do whatever is required to, again, help people. That's his goal. He wants to help people. So pretty much the whole state of Florida is covered up, if you asked him. Most of the state of Texas. I've gone obviously as south as Alabama, southern Alabama. I was in Knoxville today. Go up to Chicago sometimes. I mean, I tend to try to reach out as far as Sean allows me to without, physically killing myself by driving too much. So there's not necessarily limitations as to where we'll go. Obviously, there's logistical stuff that we have to figure out when it comes to that, but we pretty much will go anywhere and everywhere to try to help people out as far as getting them foam, getting them material. But when it comes to towing and driving our truck and trailer, we try to stay within like a 2 to 3 hour radius, I would say, of our branches.
Okay. That's great. Well, Riley, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's great to hear from a supplier manufacturer side of things, because it's most definitely a different perspective than from the contractor side. So I appreciate you coming on. For those that are following, make sure you guys follow this guy, Riley, Rye the Spray Foam Guy. Congrats on the new edition that's going to be here in August. How exciting. And yeah, make sure that you guys, if you guys are in need of like a little bit of kindness back into your relationship with your manufacturer, reach out to Riley. He'll get you pointed in the right direction. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
Spencer, thank you so much, man. It's been a blast. I really do appreciate it.
Take care.
See you guys.
See ya.